You didn't become cold. You became clear. You didn't become hard. You became holy. There's a difference, and anyone who approaches you now must do so with reverence, not expectation, with devotion, not delay. Your love is not a reward for persistence. It is a covenant offered to the worthy. It is a home for the ready, and only those who've done the inner work will find their way through its doors. You've left behind the season of fixing. You've entered the season of receiving. You carry a softness now that's laced with fire, the kind of fire that does not burn out. It burns away what no longer belongs. It clears paths. It protects peace. It signals rebirth. And you are in full bloom. He lost you, not because you gave up, but because you grew. He lost you to the version of yourself that refused to bleed for comfort. He lost you to the truth you finally embraced, that love should not require you to disappear inside of it, to feel seen. Keep building the life that matches your healing. Keep surrounding yourself with the kind of peace that doesn't need permission. Keep walking like the woman who prayed through the breaking and is now dancing in the becoming. Because this story isn't done. It's just beginning. You didn't become who you are now by accident. Every unanswered text, every silent goodbye, every moment you cried into your pillow built this version of you. The one who no longer doubts her worth. The one who doesn't beg to be seen. The one who sees herself. And that alone is what makes her unstoppable. He used to feel in control when you were the one reaching out first, when your love poured freely without needing proof. But now that you've stepped into your own light, he realizes he never truly held you, only the idea of you. And now that idea slips through his fingers like smoke from a fire he thought would never go out. You stop trying to explain your heart to those committed to misunderstanding it. You stopped handing access to souls who only wanted the warmth of your love, but not the depth of your presence. You've become more intentional. And that's not coldness, that's clarity. He watches your growth in silence now. Not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't know how to meet the woman you've become. And the truth is, he never did. He fell in love with your potential to stay, not with your power to rise. You don't regret loving him. You regret making yourself smaller to keep him comfortable. But even that regret has faded, because you now see it was all part of your becoming. You had to break in places you didn't know existed, just to realize how unbreakable you truly are. He thought time would make you softer toward him. But time only made you softer toward yourself. You became more gentle with your own pain, more forgiving with your own missteps. You stopped calling it failure when someone couldn't rise with you. You started calling it redirection. There was a version of you that needed his validation like oxygen. But she's gone now. In her place stands a woman who breathes freely in her own presence, who doesn't flinch at silence, who doesn't ache for attention, who creates her own rhythm and dances to it without apology. He's begun to realize that your silence is louder than any goodbye, that your absence doesn't scream. It teaches, it mirrors, it holds up a reflection of all he couldn't face when you were there offering unconditional love. Now that love has turned inward, and that shift is permanent. You are no longer waiting to be found. You have been found by yourself, and what a divine discovery that is. To look in the mirror and recognize not just survival, but sacredness. To see not just a woman who endured, but one who now embodies everything she prayed for. He underestimated what losing you would feel like. Not because he didn't care, but because he thought you'd return when he was ready. But you don't belong to when he's ready. You belong to now, to wholeness, to light, to a destiny far beyond his delay. There's no need for revenge. Your glow is the proof. Your peace is the response. The way your life is unfolding is the answer to every unspoken prayer. The love you gave him didn't die. It just changed direction. It came home, to you. You no longer feel the urge to explain your healing to people who haven't chosen theirs. You bless them from a distance. You smile without bitterness. Because the most powerful thing you've ever done wasn't walking away. It was not looking back. He wonders if someone else has your heart now. But your heart isn't something to be owned. It's something to be met, to be honored. And yes, someone will. Not because you chased love, but because you became the kind of woman who attracts only what aligns. Your journey is no longer about who shows up. It's about who stays aligned, who stands without needing you to bend, who listens without needing you to shrink your truth. That's the kind of connection you're moving toward. The kind that doesn't feel like proving. The kind that feels like peace. You used to break your own boundaries just to be loved. Now you keep them sacred, so you remember what love really is. Not pressure, not confusion, not delay, but presence, patience, and mutual growth. Love that is no longer performance, but partnership. Let him carry the ache of your absence. It's not cruel, it's sacred. Sometimes distance is what teaches what closeness never could. And if he grows through that ache, then perhaps he will rise too. But if he doesn't, that's not your concern. You are not here to babysit someone else's awakening. The universe is now responding to your alignment. You're being sent new opportunities, new people, new peace. And it's not a coincidence. It's what happens when you stop asking for crumbs and start expecting the banquet that was always meant for you. He may still dream about you. That's fine. But you no longer dream of going back. Your soul doesn't crave reruns. It's craving what's ahead, what's new, what's whole, what's divine. And you're not afraid anymore. You're ready. You were not the one who was lost. You were the one who lit the path. And if he couldn't walk it, that was never your failure. You didn't lose him. He lost his chance to walk beside someone who knew what love looked like before it was ever spoken. And now you walk with grace in one hand and freedom in the other. And wherever you go next, you will not be following, only leading. Not because you're above love, but because now you understand exactly what it means to never again settle for less than the sacred. Thank you for allowing these words to rest in your spirit. This message wasn't just spoken to you, it was sent for you. Because heaven sees where you've been, and heaven knows where you're going. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are in divine alignment. Everything meant for you is still on the way, and you are ready. If this message reached your soul, take a moment now to confirm it in the comments by writing, "I can do all things through him who strengthens me." Let that be your declaration, your covering, your reminder that you are never walking alone. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss what heaven speaks next. Every message is a seed, every video, a divine whisper sent to remind you of your worth, your purpose, and your promise. Stay close, stay expectant, stay listening. More angelic messages are already on their way to you, guided by love, sealed in light. We'll see you in the next one. There are prayers that arrive before the soul is ready to receive them. And you, beloved, were one of them. A gift wrapped in clarity, delivered in divine timing, but handed to hands that trembled with fear. You didn't come too early. You came on time. He was just too late in recognizing what he asked heaven for. Because you were the answer. The one he whispered for in silence, and the one he didn't know how to hold when that silence broke. You were never too much. You were simply the mirror that revealed how small his self-worth still was. His heart was still chasing healing, while you stood already holding it. His love was still conditional, still scared, still unprepared for the kind of truth your spirit carried. You didn't overwhelm him. You reflected the very growth he had been avoiding. And that scared him more than loneliness ever could. You were not a test. You were a turning point. A divine intersection where his potential collided with your presence. And he didn't lose you because you withdrew. He lost you because he stood still while you kept evolving. You didn't fall away. You rose. And he wasn't ready to rise with you. You saw him, didn't you? Past the masks, past the wounds, past the noise. You saw the man beneath the layers, the boy who prayed, the soul that longed. You held space for him before he knew what space even meant. You poured light into places he thought would stay dark forever. And still, he flinched. Not because you hurt him, but because you healed him too soon. He never expected love to arrive in such sacred form. He thought he'd meet someone who would keep the lights dim, someone who would stay silent with him. But you came speaking truth in full volume, wearing peace like armor, offering love that didn't beg. You came as wholeness, and wholeness always startles the broken. But your purpose was never to rescue. You are not a crutch for the emotionally unavailable. You are the lighthouse for the awakened. You were sent not to be tolerated, but to be honored. And when honor didn't come, heaven rerouted your path, not out of punishment, but protection. Now you stand at a different threshold. You've stopped asking why he didn't choose you. You've started choosing yourself. And in that choice, you've made room for love that's truly ready. Love that does not hesitate, does not fear, does not shrink. You've made peace with the fact that being someone's answered prayer does not guarantee they're ready to receive it. He feels your absence now, not as silence, but as clarity. He understands in pieces what he missed. And while he may never fully put the pieces together, he knows you were different. He knows heaven placed you in front of him. And he knows he walked away, not because you lacked something, but because you held everything. Let him carry that knowing. Let him sit in the weight of his unreadiness. You are not here to explain what was divine. You are here to embody what is sacred. You are not his lesson. You are your own liberation. Your story does not end in being misunderstood. It unfolds in being remembered. You didn't leave bitterness behind. You left blessing. And even now, that blessing echoes in his spirit. He may not speak it. He may not return. But he knows. He knows what you were, what you are, and what he was not ready to become beside you. And you, my dear soul, were never meant to be held by hesitation. You were meant to soar with someone who recognizes your altitude and can meet you there. You were meant to dance in love, not doubt, to rest in trust, not tension, to be received in fullness, not in fragments. Don't shrink to fit back into a moment that couldn't contain you. Don't pause your journey just because he finally looked up. Let him look, let him learn, let him grow. But you keep moving. Because what is ahead will not ask you to dim your light just to be seen. There is someone coming who won't see you as a lesson, but as a legacy. Who won't need to lose you to understand your value. Who won't ask you to prove what you carry, but will bow in reverence to the grace you bring. This love will arrive whole, present, and on time. Until then, do not harden. Stay soft, not for him, but for yourself. Because the softness you carry is not weakness. It's evidence that even after heartbreak, you still believe in love. And that belief is what makes you magnetic to what's true. You were the answered prayer, not the mistaken one. You were the light in a room he wasn't ready to illuminate. But you've always been enough. And now, you're stepping into spaces where your presence will be seen as divine timing, not divine interruption. Let this be your reminder. It was never about being chosen by someone else. It was about remembering that heaven chose you first. And what heaven chooses, no delay or denial can take away. What is aligned with your purpose will recognize your presence and stay. He may come back one day, not to rebuild, but to confess, to tell you he finally understands what he let go of. You will listen with grace, but not with attachment. Because by then, you'll be living a life so full, so rooted, so radiant, you won't need to look back. And if tears fall when he speaks, let them fall. But don't confuse them with a sign. Growth doesn't always mean reunion. Sometimes it means gratitude from afar. Sometimes it means letting go again, with peace instead of pain. You're not waiting. You're not hoping for return. You're building. You're expanding. You're preparing a table for love that sits without fear, that honors your presence without hesitation, that chooses you not just once, but daily. And that, beloved, is what you've always deserved. You weren't too early. He was simply unready. And that's not your burden to fix. That's his path to walk. You've stopped replaying the what-ifs in your mind because you finally understood. No amount of your love could have made him ready for a healing he was avoiding. You were not meant to stay in a story where your spirit had to keep proving itself. You were the chapter that showed him what love could be. But his hands weren't ready to turn the page. The echo of your presence still lingers in the spaces he tried to fill with distractions. But replacements don't erase resonance. He can scroll, chase, retreat. But none of it silences the voice within that whispers, "She was the one who saw me." And now, that voice grows louder when yours has gone quiet. You never needed him to complete you, only to stand beside you whole. And when he couldn't offer that, you didn't collapse. You rebuilt. You expanded. You chose healing not as revenge, but as redemption. And in doing so, you became the kind of woman even angels watch with reverence. There's a holiness in the way you walk now. Not loud, not boastful, but anchored. You move like someone who has bled and still believes, who has been abandoned and still chooses to stay open. That is the kind of power no ego can replicate. That is the kind of beauty no mask can mimic. He tried to forget by moving faster, but growth doesn't follow speed. It follows surrender. And you surrendered long before he realized he was still resisting. That's why your healing feels lighter and his regret feels heavier. You handed your pain over to God. He tried to handle it alone. You were never the storm, only the mirror that revealed how unsteady his ground was. And now that you've stepped away, the silence isn't just empty, it's instructional. It's teaching him the cost of mistaking readiness for convenience. Because divine love never arrives to be entertained, it arrives to be honored. You are not someone to remember just when the nights grow quiet. You are not a memory built for mourning. You are a presence that awakens, transforms, and restores. And the one who could not recognize that will forever walk with the ache of almost. You no longer chase confirmation from someone who couldn't meet you with clarity. You no longer perform softness for someone who didn't value its depth. The love you give now is sacred, selective, sovereign. It flows where it is mirrored, not measured, not manipulated. He wonders if you miss him, but he's asking the wrong question. It's not whether you miss him, it's whether you miss who you used to be in his presence. And the truth is, you don't. Because that version of you was shrinking. This version is soaring. You outgrew what only fed your wounds, and now you nurture what feeds your soul. The woman you've become doesn't wait to be loved. She radiates it. She doesn't plead to be chosen. She lives as if she already is, because she is. Chosen by heaven, by her ancestors, by the divine alignment of her own unfolding. When people ask about him now, you don't speak in bitterness, you speak in softness. Not because you want him back, but because you understand that even pain can serve a purpose. And his purpose in your life, it was to awaken you to the parts of yourself you were still giving away too cheaply. He may reach out one day, not because he has changed, but because he feels the absence of your light. But light doesn't return to the shadows it had to burn its way out of. Light keeps moving, it keeps shining, it keeps warming those who never asked it to dim. Let him seek forgiveness in the silence. Let him come to terms with what he couldn't hold. Your hands are no longer open for unfinished souls. Your time is no longer available to those still undecided. Your peace is too precious to gamble on, maybe.